What's up? It's your boy Carcino here, live and directing on the move at all times. I was going to answer a couple of your questions because I know I can't get to them all. The number one questions people ask me all the time is, how do I know all this stuff? Doesn't matter. The fact that I do know it, that's another thing. Let me see. Now, one of the questions I did get is about that I was going to address, and the guy was like, okay, well, why those rappers keep getting, like, going broke and all this money? Why can't they just put their money in savings? Don't they supposed to get a check every time they make a song or something? And here's the thing. Once you get paid from the production side, or if you were a writer, producer, you should have some type of equity check that comes in. But a lot of these checks are not huge checks. It depends on how much ownership of the music you actually own. Because some people do real well just off one song. One song can set you for life, depending on how monumental was the record. Like Montel Jordan's "This Is How We Do It." Even though it's got Children's Story by Slick Rick gets a check. Like, the people who produced that record, they get a check every time he gets paid for doing the "This Is How We Do It." Because actuality, "This Is How We Do It" made more money than Slick Rick A Children's Story. People gonna tell you different, but as far as revenue, "This Is How We Do It," that song is played in heavy rotation, just like "Baby Got Back" for Sir Mix-a-Lot. He never has to work again. "Baby Got Back" has got him paid so much, it doesn't even make sense. It's silly amount of money. Eric Sermon, once he got a piece of the music, they gave him a piece of ownership in the song with Marvin Gaye, "Music." It became the biggest song in Eric Sermon's career, and out of all the songs he made with EPMD and everything, "Music" pays the bills. Music got my heart, and so Marvin Gaye family cut him in. It's not going to be like a Robin Thicke situation. And here's something I'm going to let y'all know that's a hip-hop fact. Snoop Dogg didn't make 1 cent off the Doggystyle album. And before y'all said Suge Knight ripped him off, let me explain to you why Snoop Dogg didn't make any money off of Doggystyle. Snoop was, we all know about the murder case that he was going through at the time. He only had like 2 songs really finished for Doggystyle when that happened. And when he was facing that murder case thing, and they were gonna have to get a lawyer and get the court and get all this stuff going at the time. And let me get over here. And at that time, the lawyer, that was like a couple $1 million for the lawyer off the top just to retain their services for this trial. Because not only was it Snoop, it was Snoop's buddy as well. And if his buddy got convicted, Snoop was going to go down as an accomplice. And they were facing like 20 years to life. Like, they both was eligible to get life if this went down, or at least 20 plus years. Snoop wasn't accused of actually being the shooter, but his buddy, who was his bodyguard, who was accused of the shooter, he was on trial too for murder, and they were saying, hey, this was self-defense. And they had to get Johnny Cochran in there to get on Snoop's case. They wanted Johnny Cochran to handle the case, and Interscope didn't want to pay any money for the case. And then they said, well, we'll put up $1 million for the bail, but he's like, that's not enough for Johnny Cochran. He's like, we want Johnny Cochran in here because he's a good lawyer for somebody who's going to be a high-profile case. Like, Snoop is a superstar. Like, why are we not getting behind, Snoop on this? And during this situation, some stuff almost happened, which I'll talk about later, and some backdoor stuff that almost went down, and it didn't go down. So, anyway, Snoop signed with Death Row, and everything got squared away then. But the situation happened with this Interscope. Suge had to get into it with them and make sure that they paid to keep Snoop on Death Row and with Interscope. Because if that was the case, if Snoop went to jail, there's no Doggy Style, there's none of this stuff is, and it's like, why? That would be dumb to let him make all this money for us, then go to jail. And then it's all dead. It just don't make no sense. So they agreed to put up the retainer. So they put up the money for Snoop. And when they did that, it was like 3.5 or something like that, or 5 million, I don't know. But it was millions of dollars for his retainer. Now that they got him retained, they had there was other expenses going on. So while Doggy Style comes out and it just does all these records, because everybody was anticipating the Snoop record, Snoop's album coming out. So when Snoop album comes out, everybody made money off that album except for Snoop, because Snoop was so far in the hole off that album. Even though it more than recouped the money that they spent on the trial, Snoop was basically living off advances from the company, because all of his money was going back in to to his trial. Then they got him a house, they got him a car, and all this stuff. So he's got all these clothes, everything he wanted on the account, but he owed that back to the company. So he really had no money coming in. Everything was going to the company. So he was just living off a loan. And he ended up really not making any money personally for himself. Everything else went to the trial. And he's like thanking Death Row for paying for the trial, the lawyer and everything else. But really, he paid them back in full when you look back on what all the album have earned compared to what they spent on his trial. It was an investment for them that paid out royally, but it really wasn't a big investment after seeing what happened with G-Thing and The Chronic and Dr. Dre's album. So at that time, you saw Interscope become into a giant in the field as far as music. They had Snoop, then to make the money, they did the movie Murder Was the Case, and then made a soundtrack going around it, because it took 2 years for the trial to actually even get started. And, Snoop won his case. By the time he won his case, it was like 95. That's why they were trying to get as much money and raise as much awareness and stuff as they can. So that's when they dropped the movie Murder Was the Case and put the soundtrack together. Dog Pound pretty much mashed that whole thing out, and it was done. It been one with that one. So that's how that happened. And Snoop got some paper going on through that, but it was like he's making money, keeping money going, flowing for the trial, but everybody else is eating, and they had more than Snoop, to be honest. And by the time that trial started, Snoop was a household name everywhere. So now it's like, you're locking up Snoop Doggy Dogg. You can't lock up Snoop. And who's better to sell that than Johnny Cochran? That is Snoop Doggy Dogg. You know this man, I know this man. Rest in peace, Johnny. They should have been looking into the death of Johnny Cochran. I'm like, he just got cancer and went out right away. I'm like, whoa, man, Johnny's gone? Oh, man. Boom. So what was the other question y'all had about why somebody else asked me about Isaiah Thomas and all that stuff and the Jordan era, and I'm hating on Michael Jordan. It's like, I'm not hating on Michael Jordan. I keep telling people that all the time. Isaiah Thomas is just the greatest basketball player. You don't believe me? Go watch the open court shows that they got that come on the televisions, on the NBA TV, and they got Isaiah Thomas on there. Listen to Isaiah Thomas speak. They know that he's not only the smartest basketball player, he's the most articulate basketball player, and he's 10 times ahead of everybody else that's sitting at that podium. He taught some of these basketball players how to handle the ball, how to deal in situations with passing and open up lanes. He was the true definition of a point guard. Magic Johnson too. I don't take anything away from Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson, they could run a full court, open floor basketball. Yes, he played on a half court team, but Isaiah was more full court. He can open up the floor. He can just do whatever he wanted to do. You know, and that's what people didn't understand about Isaiah Thomas. But there were other great players in the league that a lot of you probably missed and didn't get a chance to see. But I'm gonna tell you a fun NBA story right now. They was filming the movie Rebound. The one with Don Cheadle was doing Willie McGault, the GOAT. They call him Willie the GOAT McGault, the basketball playground legend. And they got all these NBA stars out there. And they all out there betting on who could hit a half-court shot. And then there was some kids out there, some local just got extras, you know, extra basketball players. They weren't in the league, but, you know, they thought they were great. You know, they wanted to show the NBA players they can get down. So they out there throwing up alley-oops like, yeah, look at this. Oh, yeah, look at me, man. They need to try me out. So they was out there playing with some of the NBA players, and they betting. They want to make some bets. Like, come on, man, y'all need to give me some of that bread. And this dude's just talking the whole time. This one player from St. John's, he was talking about some, yeah, I went to St. John's. I'm going to be in the league by next year, watch. And he got talking so much, and he ended up playing Pooh Richardson. Pooh Richardson took this boy to school. Took him to school. Everything he thought Pooh Richardson was the weakest dude out there. You the weakest one, bro. Pooh Richardson took him to school. He telling him what he gonna do. What, you want me to go left? Boom. He's like, boy, you ain't even, man, you gotta run some suicides or something, boy. You huffing and puffing already. Man, it was Pooh Richardson. It was the worst. They could have made that the movie. Pooh Richardson schooling that boy and showing him the difference between a professional basketball player and a professional shit talker on the court. It was bad. Telling him, what you want me to three? You want me to shoot it from here? You ain't gonna make it from there. Bam. It was that bad. Yeah, I'll never forget that one. What else? So we got a lot of things that happen in basketball. I did say the next one I'm going to do will be about Chris Mills. And I'm going to do a whole breakdown of what Chris Mills is about. Because people didn't know, a lot of people in the NBA knew, don't mess with Chris Mills. Period. Do not mess with Chris Mills. If you're on the West Coast, you already know that's the one guy in the NBA you leave the hell alone. You don't mess with him. He's a nice dude, but don't cross him. And we all know Carmelo Anthony made that mistake. And I'm already going. I'm not gonna go into that. We ain't gonna. I'll leave that alone right now. We'll go into that at the proper time. The hip hop beef video. And somebody asked me, did I see Big Daddy Kane and who I thought would win a battle between him and KRS-One. They battled already. I'm gonna tell people right now, Kane is not telling the full truth. Okay, yes, they were best friends. Him and KRS-One was best friends when all that battle and stuff was going on with Shan. But Kane didn't like Shan. So he wasn't really feeling like, and he knew, Shan knew that he was cool with KRS-One anyway. Juice Crew was so screwed up, y'all have no idea. Y'all have no idea. MC Glamorous, when she was there, I mean, she was busy. Look, I'll get into that at the proper time. But I'm going to tell you this right now. Big Daddy Kane's not telling y'all the truth. He did battle KRS-One. He wrote the battle rhyme for Roxanne Shante. So if you wrote the rhyme for Roxanne Shante to battle KRS-One with, you wrote the disses. I mean, hey, am I lying? So you basically was battling KRS-One when you was writing those rhymes. All right, here we go. This video then turned out to be 17 minutes. This is supposed to have been a 2-minute video. All right. Now, the other question I had was, who did I know in the industry that could help people out with record deals? I know plenty of people in the music industry, but the problem is they are all in different places now. When I knew them in the business, that's like almost 20 years ago now. It don't seem like it, but you're looking at 2000. That's 15 years ago. 2001, 95, 96, 97. These people are all in different walks of life right now. Some watch my videos. Like, I talk to some, like, every 2-3 days, and they, like, yeah, we're going to catch up, you know, sit back and catch up on a couple of things. And they tell me on certain things I might have been wrong about on the video. I mean, hell, this is coming out the top of my fucking dome. So, yeah, it might mess up a line or two. I mean, it's not like the internet's going to help me. He'd be like, yo, you got that offline. I'd be like, where? Where did they have that? Like, some of the stuff, yeah, the guy's like, you watch Vlad TV. I was like, I really have not watched Vlad television until somebody started pointing out, you've been watching Vlad. I'm like, what is Vlad? And then I was like, oh, I used to see this all the time and never really watched it or listened to it. Then I started listening to it, and I was like, oh, okay. All right, yeah, I know this story. And I'll be like, yeah, that's not the way it really went down, but yeah, that's a version of it. But I know what really happened in a lot of these stories, and some of them I couldn't even put out. I could never put out some of these stories. I'm thinking of ways I've actually been called and said, hey, man, don't put that story out, though. You know, from the people who saw my video, like, man, I saw your video, man. I was just like, I know him, don't I? And hit me up like, dude, please, just don't do that, man. Don't put that video out. Don't tell that about that, man. You know, even if you change the names, don't do it, man. Because they gonna know right off the top. Nobody that stupid. You can even flip the names and make it work for nothing else. And he's right. There's no way I could tell that story without just being totally wrong and offensive. You know, it's like, you know, it's bad. You're a rapper, your wife's getting hit by a basketball player, but she gets paid because she's an assistant, you know, and you got to roll with it because she's bringing money in and you ain't, and it's a bad situation. And no matter how you dress that up, you know, it's gonna be bad, and it's really bad. The situation is messed up, you know. But it's plenty of those type of stories in the league and everywhere else that we really can't get into. Definitely, there's a lot of NBA stories we definitely couldn't get into. Gosh. But yeah, some of the safe ones we'll go over, but yeah, that's gonna be delicate. Sports stories are way more delicate because you got households to think about. It's not different than a rapper's. Y'all, man, I done made it all the way out here. You see how far I gotta drive a day? This video's been 20 minutes. I've been on the road longer than this, trying to get all the way out here just to go shopping. They need to have better stores.